Okay, so it's 4:15 in the morning. I'm just gonna go ahead and start. But if I have to have an abrupt ending, because I still have this whatever stomach flu poisoning situation I've got going on, and I'm telling you, some of these days, like I'll be recording, and as soon as I finish, I gotta like rush to the bathroom. It's like, what in the hell is going on? Well, I know what's going on, but it's super aggravating. And right now, with the amount of internal pain, like it is autoimmune stuff is the only thing I know how to reference it, because it's triggered by these layers of toxins and stuff in our system over time, and then we have these certain effects. There's so much more talk now about this stuff too. There's so many more people and so many people doing research. There's so much about it now. But somebody was saying um a sign of the toxins and stuff is if you do your blood work. How did they say it? Wasn't They didn't say toxins. I can't remember. I'll have to look for the video if someone wants to see it. But they said looking for eosinophils in your blood work. Because if you have a lot of those, that is when your body's trying to fight something. And those are the little fighter cells of the white blood cells. Because the white blood cells is like the army cells. The red blood cells are what is like it is like, I see it like the train container things, how like in our physical, the train containers bring us what we need all around the country. So it's like those are the containers that take everything in your body that it needs going around, like around the system, like a train. And it carries oxygen to every, and that's what they need to all the organs and stuff. So, and the white blood cells are the eosinophils. You should only see like one if you see anything, and it's those are show that you are having like when I worked in the lab, it was, I want to make sure I explain it right, and it's better if you just look some of this stuff up. But it's like it's like the most it's like when your body's really trying to fight something off. And normally you don't have those or very many if you have any. But that would show like you are having some allergy reaction to something. And then there's other parts of white blood cells, but those are like the army that goes around with the red blood cells, and they travel in plasma. It's just so trippy how everything is micro, macro. And it is like the white blood cells, because the white blood cells are like that is what I had said a few years ago. I said it's like all of these white blood cells came to this stagnation of energy to come in and break it up. And so the white blood cells are like the light, the white beings, the beings that are bringing in something that's like a clog buster of energy, because the stagnation that was created through the disease is just how this place works. Like I was seeing more about that even, which, okay, the reason I was all jacked up and like, oh god, I've been up since 1:30, and then or 12:30, no, I think 1:30. And I was looking at the comments, and Crystal had sent me some emails, and she had found the movie that I had been talking about. I can't even believe it. I had sent that movie like to the what it was about to what is that, those guys I like, the night the those movie guys that show those old movies, Newcastle After Dark, and they're in Ohio. So the other day they hadn't posted for a while. I was like, oh, I wonder if they're okay. But then they posted something. But then so I had told them the little thing, because I thought, well, maybe they can find it. Maybe that would be familiar to them because they know all these old movies. and I didn't get anything. And then I had looked it up, and I would put in, like, into Google, I was trying to put in, like, different things, like different trilogy movies in the 70s and stuff like that. So I was trying to come up with ways to find it, and it always like lead me to a dead end. But fucking Crystal, she thought of going on to, I didn't even know these things. I don't even, this is the cool thing when we all begin to work together. It's like other things that other people know, then we all, share information, and then we all know more. Because then, I didn't even think about like there being movie forums where people are talking about this stuff and looking for movies together and stuff. So she found one where people were explaining the same movie as I was explaining. And she had sent me some of the conversation thing. And when I had read what the other story was about, immediately I could picture it. I was like, oh, yeah, I remember. And so she had sent me, she had found the name of the movie. And so I was just so excited. I couldn't even believe it. And so I was like, of course, I've already watched it. And then but it was also a weird thing is because Vortex was sending me, or Debbie was sending me some messages yesterday about something, and her messages kept getting deleted. And then Crystal was trying to send me some, and they kept getting deleted. And I am not even seeing them. And plus my notifications and like I don't get notifications of all the things. It's very random. It's trippy because I'll get notified of like 2 comments, and I'll go in and look, and then I'll see there's more comments. So those ones I just run across and answer. But yeah, they totally manipulate my stuff. And like like on that one video, they didn't, every time it got to 170, they tipped it back. I didn't look yet this morning and see. I saw yesterday it got up to 172, and I thought, I wonder if they've tipped it back. And I don't know how some go past these. I don't know if they set certain regulations on, it's weird. And then you got to think like, why would they mess with this small account so much, you know? And so I just think that, well, I know that they are purposely trying to repress information and keep the account small. So they're trying to manipulate, but they're not going to be able to, because it's like this energetic surge. And so it's going to flip all into our favor. So no matter what they try and do, I just try and not let it frustrate me, because then I'm feeding into the energy circuit thing that they want us to feed into, which somebody was even saying that they think that's why they did the North Carolina thing to that kid, because they knew all the outrage it was going to create, and it's all about the energy harvesting. So I don't know. There's just so many possibilities over this stuff at this point. It's just like everything is just crazy. It's just wild. And it's wild when you see you're seeing like both sides of revealing themselves. And then also, there's just so much to see. It's like both sides revealing themselves, and you see people having epiphanies, all of a sudden understanding things, people explaining things. Like, it's like you see so much movement in what's going on. It's very much not stagnant. It's very much in movement, like a rock starting to go down a hill. But it's kind of like, so it's going down the hill, and it's gonna pick up speed. But then when it gets down to the bottom, it's gonna hit into a loop that's gonna push it back up. We're not going off the cliff like it appears to be that we would be going into, the end, but it's really the beginning. So but it's still gonna be very like, whoa, that was a close call. It's going to be like, I mean, it's not going to be a close call for some people. Some people are going to be gone. And then it's going to be very traumatic. And then, I don't know. It's going to be big. Whatever's going to happen, it's going to be like really big. And we have all these events leading up to it too, because there's more stuff about, I don't even know, these different things like that end, like, oh, the time's up on this and the time's up on that. And all the things are just to keep continuing the disclosure, which I kind of feel like that all the things I keep seeing about Kamala, that they are just exposing stuff about her. Like right now, is so much about, well, she had all the questions. She had all that, and she was wearing the ear, all this stuff that, oh, my water's in here, that was super obvious. And because it's obvious on purpose. And then you already see this whole other group, these watchdogs that are already watching everything. And so how it just keeps rippling out, and more people seeing, and more people talking about, more and more people hearing the conversations. And so I just got distracted. Hold on. So the people, they okay. Let's see if I can find it again. So, I don't know. I don't want to waste time on it. It will come back. I was meant to come back. Anyways, there's a lot of stuff going on. And there is just, gosh, so much stuff. The thing with Gunner, that has totally taken off, and that has got such movement in people talking about the shelter thing. And see, this is the thing, is like it had so much bad stuff happening. So before stuff was happening and none of us were paying attention, then bad stuff started happening and it triggered a bunch of people, and they started paying attention and started becoming rescuers and all this stuff. And they started telling people about, we weren't all paying attention. Then more stuff started happening, so it got worse. So then they just start doing this mass slaughter. What's going on in Turkey? Oh my God. It's bad too. Somebody's got a tutti booty. So anyways, so then for us, then it had to get worse. And it had so then they'd start doing the mass slaughter. And that is when I was just like, that is what really got me, like, where I took notice of, like, fuck, we got a serious fucking problem, man. And so that got a lot of us, because there was a huge wave of people that came in on that and started, freaking out and stuff. And then and started, really talking about it and getting other people to have to hear about it and stuff. And then it has to go into the next phase, because there still wasn't people who were listening. So then it goes into the next phase where, they've killed somebody's family pet now. And especially, an elderly dog, where you're just like, every last moment matters to you. And obviously they're not putting their dog down because they want to be with it to the end. And then these people just take it upon themselves to think, oh, well, it's arthritis. Which these people, like, the place is closed right now. And there's a thing where there's a lot of shit going with that. There's stuff with court and stuff. Like, these girls could be facing charges or something. Like, I don't even know all this stuff. It's gotten huge. And the Gunner's parents and stuff are all over the news. And so but it's really shaking things up. It's really making change. And there's just a lot of things that are riding on that too, because that has really got a huge flow going, with so many people talking about what's going on at the shelters. And so more people are listening, more people are getting involved. And then the more we listen, the more we get involved, the more that we can see solutions and stuff. Because that's what I keep seeing is on one thing was, because there's like a couple of rescue things I've seen where, like I've said, there's these rescue ones that are just trying to get money or something. There's some weird shit. I've said this whole time. You start seeing there's some really shady shit going on in this whole rescue and dog thing and stuff. And but I think, you know, it can go deep into where shelters and stuff are involved even. Because it's just a lot. There's a lot of weird shit. Just like how this dog was taken not to its the shelter that was by its house. It was taken out of to one that was further away, which is weird. Why wouldn't they just take it to the closest one? And why are people just going around picking up dogs, especially out on farms? Lots of people let their dogs roam. So, or out where there's acreage. So there's just weird shit going on. And you'd think there's so many dogs that look out there in the streets starving in Texas that they would, you know, they wouldn't just be driving around looking for any old dog to pick up. And then plus, you know, even when a dog has arthritis, there's periods of time. Like right now, Stella's struggling because now it's back to this cold and rainy. I just can't even believe how fat, like, it's like the longest winter of our fucking, god damn. We had a couple weeks break from winter. And so now it's, you know, now I'm trying to plant on firewood, and I'm kind of feeling like that back room. It's so wet. There's just a wetness. I can't even explain it. It's the weirdest fucking thing. And yesterday I even brought in a heater, and I put a heater on. I have had the fan on, and it seemed like nothing is drying. Like, what in the hell is going on? It just feels so moist in here. And then I brought in the heater because I was like, okay, maybe if there's something wet. And then I started trying to think, well, what could be wet? What could be wet? And the only thing I can think of right now is, like, I know I have to redo this plumbing. I know that I have this leak problem where my bathroom is about to fall through the fucking floor. And then in here, this whole thing with this, like, that's why I was saying, I don't think that they had to have the same kind of permits and shit to put up these little dog houses. So so I've got to do all this plumbing. So I was thinking, I bet you there's another busted pipe under the house. And I bet you that there is a leak under the house. And the water company has told me a few times I have a leak. But the leak I thought it was that I can't get my hose to turn off all the way. And so my hose just drips and drips and drips and drips. And so that was like, oh, I need to redo that. And then plus they cut a hole in the side of the house where the pipes are and have it as an open thing that doesn't close all the way. And so it freezes everything they did. They were not planning on there being winters and stuff. So and the pipes have broke a bunch of times. So now I'm thinking, I bet you that there's a busted pipe under the house, is leaking, and it's all, the water under my house. And everything's so wet here. And everything is just like falling apart. And so I was thinking, I bet you that the ground is all wet over there under my bedroom. And it's what is making it, this moisture come up, because it would be super moist underneath. And then I just keep thinking about like this, getting sick all the time, and thinking about like all the mold and spores and shit out here. The mildew. It's like, fuck, man. It's just like, man. I just is a lot too. There's a lot that needs to be done here that, you know, I need to start getting done. Well, my son-in-law is supposed to be coming and start doing that roof. And then I'm going to talk to him about the plumbing. I'm going to see if he'll go under the house. And I don't know. There's no fucking way I can go under there. No fucking way. And that is like, you know, it's not like I'm, it's weird because we all have these certain things like, well, I'm afraid of this, but I'm not afraid of that. I'm horrified of heights. I'm horrified with open water, but caves and going into a space like a cave, I can't fucking handle it at all. And dark and spiders getting on me and stuff like that. I don't know if I was in cave collapse at some point in my lifetimes or what the hell, but it gives me so, like, there's no fucking way. And And I wouldn't push somebody else to try and make them do it. But if he's like, oh yeah, I can go into there, no big deal, and check, he may be able to just open it and look down with the flashlight and be able to tell. I don't know. And I know that there's things living in the roof because I heard them. And the other day I was in the bathroom and I heard him up there scurrying around doing stuff. And I was like, okay, these sound way bigger than mice. And then I was thinking, well, there's squirrels living up in my attic. Well, I want to give them a place to live. I should go up there and build a little squirrel house. So they have their own little squirrel house up in there. And I was thinking that would be a way to start living more harmonious, building them little nests in place. So they weren't just going into the walls and stuff. So anyways, so I don't know if something's living underground too, because we have these moles, and I see mole holes on the side of my house all the time. So I know there's little moles, but I think they're like this big, and they look more like mice with long noses. So I don't know. We'll see, but I feel like there's got to be something. It's like poltergeist around this place. So anyways, that's what's going on with back in there, which is not getting better no matter what I do. And let me think. It's totally rainy and totally cold. We're totally fogged in. We're totally being poisoned every motherfucking day. What did I just see about that? Something. Oh, because I was talking to, there's lots of people who are realizing, like, I mean, my neighbor was saying, well, she's got the allergies or whatever. It's just like, people have figured out when they figure out, there's lots of people who are figuring out, like, oh, I have allergies, I'm allergic to poison, that's the problem. And so, and that's where, you have your eosinophils that go bursting into your system to try and conquer the infiltrate that they keep. But see, they're pounding us. Just as they're pounding the physical with storms, they're pounding us inside with this stuff. And so, when you are feeling beat down, I know a lot of people say, oh, it's all ascension symptoms, it's this, it's that, and stuff. But I think that there's a huge component to the physical environment and what is being dumped on us. And then they crank up the frequency to make everybody really on edge. Oh my gosh. Please don't start becoming dramatic, okay? Let me do my work. When I finish this, I'll feed you. She's really having a fit about food. She's hungry all the time. She goes through her snacks or her treats so fast, and she's mad because we've run out now. And she has to wait for the box. And that just throws her whole thing off. She can't get up and have her treats. Then she's just like, ugh. So she's going to probably interrupt me a few times. And then plus the archons or whatever feed off this shit and then create more of it. I swear to God. And so because I was seeing more stuff, like tons and tons of stuff about the kid hanging, to the point where the stuff that I've heard people say, it's weird because, I just wouldn't think that much about it really. Like if somebody said, somebody was hanging or whatever, but see, we have all these people now and they're saying, there's no way. When as soon as you hear them say, there's no way. Why would a black person go and, do something like that? That's like the cruelest thing you can do to yourself from historically what has happened to them. And because there was a lot about that. It was like almost accepted. It was like, get yourself a couple, win a prize or something. They made songs about it, stuff. They would write things like it was like the low-hanging fruit. That has to do with that. And that, so it's like, it's really horrible. Like when you go back to that period of time and see the attitudes and stuff, and that's what's really horrible when you see these same kind of attitudes come out in people now, only you think because they're Haitian or Venezuelan or whatever. It's like, some of the people, how they're just like, they look down on these people like they're not civilized, they're subhuman or something. This is what they fucking do to get you to think this way, to create division in a spiritual understanding, you would understand these are different pockets of realities that these experiencers are going through these experiences and they're learning from them. And it's not for us to, we have to learn how to not feel like we have to control everything. And that was one of the stories too in this movie that I really wanted to say. Because when I watched the movie, like, it was still scary to me. But the thing that got me, now I understand why I was so scared when I had first seen it. Because I think I was like 10 or 11 years old. Stella, stop it. And it was this, sorry when I get interrupted. So this movie, traumatized me when I was a kid. And then I couldn't remember the whole thing. And so those bits and pieces, and Crystal went and found other people with those same bits and pieces, and people found the movie and stuff. And so so when I was watching the movie this morning, and when it starts, it says that all these stories are true, and they are all from this study that because like I've said before, I said back when I was a kid that it was very different, and I see it so different now. How I would have seen it before, it was just very trippy. Like when I look at all of it in a whole string of events. But so when I was like in the 70s, so when I was around 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, and seeing Twilight Zone was all the time. Now I'm wondering, like, did they take him out because of what he was bringing? Because he really, like, he was really speaking to me in a way that I don't know if he spoke to everybody else. But so, Twilight Zone and stuff was really impacted me. And Rod Serling, like, I thought he was a fucking god, man. And so, and I don't know if they took him out. But so he did this movie, and it's these 3 stories, but it's out of this whole study. And so back in the 70s, like I was saying, there was a thing like, Ouija boards would just be right on your table. My grandma and my dad, I've got pictures of them doing the Ouija board together. And people would practice ESP. Everybody was really into this whole thing with your mind and stuff, and ESP, and they say some of the stuff in this movie about, you're controlling your reality with your mind and stuff like that. So see, we were in that direction when I was a kid. And then my mom was religious. And so, but that, I don't know, at the time, I don't think that it interfered. I don't think there was all of this, oh, Ouija boards, get them out of your house, they're devil and stuff. It was just, they were sold at the thing by the Twister. You go by Twister, Operation, Candyland, and a Ouija board. They're all right there together. So, and we didn't have tons of games. We had like Battleship, those ones I just said, Life. There was like, Parcheesi. There was these certain board games. And it was funny too, because if you went to certain people's houses, it was kind of like the people who I knew from the East Coast, they would play Parcheesi. It was like different, it's like different areas or something would play these certain games, I guess. But anyways, we didn't have a whole shit ton of them. And it was not devil stuff to have a Ouija board at your house. And so I grew up at this period of time where I would see this, people practicing and stuff. And so I was already having my guidance was so much a part of me. It was not where I was thinking anything about it. Like I didn't stop and think like, oh, they're talking to me. It was just like they were part of my thinking. They were a part of my mind conversation. It was a part of me. Like I never knew it was something that was different than other people. Like I thought everybody was the same. And so, they were already always telling me things all the time. And, so whatever happened, like I can see this part of my own home And then, I'm not sure what happened. Like at that house, the next house we moved into was haunted. That was the one where the guy had killed himself in the house, the concert pianist guy. But he just wandered around the house all the time. And, but he was, like, I think he watched over me. And I've told that story about before. But anyways, so, and I don't know if that had anything to do with some of the stuff or what, but we were going to church all the time because it was always the same church. It was in between these two houses because both of these houses were off of Marsh Lane. One was on Merrill, and it was the corner of Merrill and Marsh, and it was the house with the tennis courts, and it was this big house where we had a forest in the front of our house and stuff, and it was over where all of the horses and all the pastures and stuff. That's where the tornado had hit. The tornado I was in, I think it was in a bunch, but this one was actually went on my street and took out a bunch of stuff on my street. It was very scary. And then, so that one, that house. And then down the street was High Meadow. We lived on the High Meadow, and that one was a few houses in. And then we were across from the first cul-de-sac, and the cul-de-sac was where the perv guy who kidnapped me lived in that one, David Hall. And then across from him was Mr. Island. And Mr. Island would always try and get all the boys to come over to his swimming pool, and he would always lose his pants. And the boys would have to get his pants. So that we had two guys, and then my dad's the head of the cul-de-sac. And so who knows how many pervs, like I was really hitting me over the last couple of days of like, fuck, man, there's a lot of goddamn pervs out there. And so the church was right in between because we went to Holy Cross Lutheran Church, and the pastor was Pastor Sorensen. And then he had older teenagers because I ended up going to Bible camp with them, and they were the ones out with the weed and stuff. So that gave me a different view of like, just the kind of, I don't know, like a hypocrisy, but also like I wasn't the only one who was like, I don't know. Because religion was really trying to come in really hard to control us at this time. And it's weird when you think about like, everybody was going more into this ESP and telepathy and talking to the dead and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden, here comes the cocaine and the crack. Let's party. Get a perm. It's like I just see it so different. It's like you try and see like, how did this happen? Where did it stop? Where did it start being like, because like my mom's always thought like when I would tell her things like you're talking to the devil, like I told you, she just said that recently. And I've heard it a lot of times, and it's like the devil's not real, Mom. Yes, the devil is real. You better say it. He's gonna get you. So the devil is in the room, but he is out to get you. But there is all of these spirits, like how I was seeing is like, how I was saying how we go through these cycles of advancement, but it does, the life review is a huge part of it. And so you have to go through to have reflection over your actions in order to advance. So the life review is an important factor in the cycling of lifetime adventures or whatever. And so so you got to go to your life review. And I see these people, they're all just skipping their life reviews, jumping timelines. Oh yeah, because I was saying the people who actually do that, which the vampire guy has been saying more stuff. I swear to God, I think he really is. But he's not like kind of vampires like out of the movies and stuff. These are other beings. These are different, just like there's like beings or shapeshifters or something that came over here at certain points, and then they just started living as man, I think. and just hid into the crowds, just like what they've showed in that movie. They've shown that in movies before. And I think that that is real. I swear, I think this guy is one of a real vampire from somewhere else. And so, like a law, just an alien. And so and he says the things that are real and the things that aren't real. And like he said, once I saw it in a movie, and they were all eating this heart, and it gave them life. And he said, yeah, when I see stuff like that, then I'm like, that's real. And so, and he said, when I see him like showing, they can't look at themselves in the mirror. He's like, I look at myself all the time. And so he's like, there's certain things that aren't real. But he has to say everything like low key, because he'll say hypothetically and stuff. But I think he's real. I'm really feeling like that werewolf guy. If he's not real, then somehow he has the real story or something. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe they both just have the real story. Maybe they're actors playing these stories out. I don't know. But none of these things are real. But this guy's teeth do come. I don't know. And he looks kind of vampire-y. And he says it's the thing that mesmerizes people is it's like a secretion that comes out of his palm. And then when he touches somebody, it puts in this like a tranquilizer gun, and it just relaxes the people. But I asked a question. I said, how many times do they have to eat and stuff? Like, in the movies, it's like every night I got to run out and get some food. But maybe it's like they only have to eat a heart once a year. And then where do they get it? Where do you go get it? Is it going to be an animal one? I'm curious now about some of this stuff. So, and I don't know. I just ask him. I don't know for sure. Like everything is possible, and everything is an illusion. So you go with the whatever floats your boat. And so let me think, because I was talking about something else. I thought I wanted to finish saying about that, but there was more stuff I wanted to say about this movie. But man, I'm just dropping off. Like it just goes like blank. Okay, well, I'm just gonna go to that. So on the movie thing, because I thought this was interesting, because it had things that is like relevant. So oh yeah, because the church thing. So the church that was right in between our house. So we had been going to that church for a long time. And the things that they had been saying, I would tell my mom, like, that's not true, that's not true. And I would ask the preacher things. I would ask Sunday school teachers stuff. So we would go to church all the time. But I don't remember it ever where it changed, where it was like, oh no, we don't talk about ESP anymore. I don't know. It's weird. It was like it was so real for a while, and then it was like everybody was like put into a hypnosis, and all of a sudden it was like everybody just turned in a different direction. And then they did the big introduction of drugs and sex and stuff to really get people distracted and really create a lot of chaos and stuff. So all that stuff was done on purpose. And I don't know, there's a whole thing where I'm just seeing stuff different about their time periods and stuff. It's almost like that they try and manipulate it, like they were creating these changes to like the Gen X, that like there's something more to it about them creating these it's like they were trying to copy different times, and then see like if they put us in that time, what we would do. There's something weird. I don't really know how to explain it, but there's something weird about it for sure. Like the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, 70s. Like I don't feel like that all just happened just naturally. Like I feel like that we would have stayed a lot more in a certain period, if you get what I'm saying. Like we would have been in the 70s more than just 10 years. Then we switch. And then the next 10 years, we're in the 80s. And then it's all about this. And then we switch. And then we go in the 90s. And then it's all about this. Then we switch. And you can see like these different very distinct periods of times, and they have a certain way of dressing and everything. So I just think that it's very manufactured. And so there's something weird about it. And I don't know if they do it through their trends and clothes and technology, through leading us through programming. I'm not sure, but there's something weird about it. And but so in this movie, which in this movie even that was hitting me on this one part, because they had the ghost girl was from the 20s or 30s, but then they had parts where she just looked like somebody from the 70s. And but that's what I'm saying is I think we would have stayed in a certain time way longer. I don't think we would have been just jumping around like this. We would have just worn like the same things and wore our hair the same and stuff. Like they set these trends to get us to, and I don't know how they lead people so much, but it works because I mean, it's weird when I think about like how there's Ouija boards just sitting on kitchen tables, and all of a sudden it was the devil, and and people would seriously practice this stuff, and there was so much studies and stuff. But in the movie, when it starts out, that's what it's talking about, these studies. And so they're saying that they're I can't remember all the things that it said, but it was something about this professor, whatever, was doing this study on psychic phenomena or something. And so he had talked to, I don't know, 360 people or something, and had gotten all of these crazy stories while he was out doing all his research. And what was strange about these like 360 people is that they ended up all being buried in 23 cemeteries. And so he thought that was very fascinating. How did they all end up, so close together like that? And so the story is three of the stories that he was told. And in the stories, so in the movie is being made like in the 70s. So the stories were kind of more like from the 1910s, one of those stories. So I'll just tell you this. I'll just tell you the stories. So and as soon as I had read the one, I could picture him. And it was weird because I would have these flashes in my head, but I couldn't put it all together from this movie. But so the first story is these college age guys do a prank on a kid, and they tell him that there's a girl waiting for him, and they do this whole phone call and pretend and tell him to go over to this girl's house and he'll get lucky. And it's like the middle of the night. And so he, goes over to this girl's house and knocks on the door, and it's not this girl's house. And it's some old lady's house. And she gets really scared. So she gets her gun and she goes to the door. And then she sees it's a kid, and she's talking to him, and the gun goes off and it kills him. And, which the thing that was getting me is, when all these things I was watching was destiny. And that timing thing that I was talking about, like everything happens exactly the way it's supposed to happen, and it's so trippy when you see. And so so there's nothing that could have changed. It was always going to happen that way. This kid was always going to end up. This person was always going to end up shooting. It was always going to be the way it was going to be. There's no stopping the inevitable. There's no stopping destiny. And so, so he gets killed. And so then they have a funeral in this town, and everybody loves this kid in this town. So it's a big funeral. And the boys who did the joke on him, they are there. And then all the people leave, and tell the mom, I'm so sorry and stuff. And then there's a thing about this. She's the seventh daughter of the seventh son, which is like, that's kind of trippy. Like the seventh daughter, like you go to your ancestry and see what you are. But like, how do they even, like, that's so trippy. Is this something that this family tracked or something? The seventh daughter of the seventh son? Was there 7 kids? And then she's the 7th kid? I would think that must be it. It must just be like out of one. Yeah, I guess that makes the most sense. Maybe I was overthinking it or something because it was really tripping me out. I was like, the 7th son of the seventh. And I kept thinking, how do they, like, I don't know. But now I'm thinking, okay, well, it was one mom and dad, and then they go down seven. But, we don't have, huge families like that anymore. And I was thinking of it in an older kind of way. But anyways, my mind, that's weird how your mind can go. That's why it's so helpful to talk about things sometimes, or journal or whatever, because uh, I don't know, it helps you to make sense of things or whatever. So, anyways, the lady tells that she puts a curse on him, and which is trippy because there is so much going on about this Haiti thing, and I feel like that this was all manufactured as well. Like, I feel like that it was by no accident that this rumor started, and now the woman who started this rumor, she has gone into hiding because she fears for her life. So I don't know, like, there's always all this drama, but I feel like that these certain things are being purposely brought into certain situations. And so it makes so much sense that they would bring up this certain place and the practices, because then there's like all these videos of people who are from there talking about the most horrible stories. And that place is like, you think about Dr. Moreau's Island or something, like the island of Voodoo Islands. Like, I don't want to go there. Like, you got fucking zombies walking around. You don't know if a cow or a frog is a person underneath. Like, there's all sorts of shenanigans going on there. And seeing Hillary knew that's why she was going there. It's like that's why they were trying to like kind of take over control of that place, and she was working with some really big dark lords and stuff. And like these guys all keep saying there's like these certain, it's like, I don't know, different levels of witchery, and you keep moving up and moving up. Well, there's some top tier magicians there who have really mastered the art of energy and control. It's like they feed off of these dark beings, and that is what I was going to say about when people don't go to their life review, and it seems like to me that people will get trapped in this realm when they just keep staying alive and staying alive, because they're not, I mean, what a lot, if you had gone through all these different lifetimes and you had not gotten to any review and you have done a bunch of shit, then you're going to go, like, that would be like, so I don't know. It's like the creation of the dark lords or something. Like, I don't want to just say devils and demons, but I feel like that there is this certain part of our reality where there's these beings that don't progress or something, that they carry the darkness, and they're always spreading it in this place and stuff. But so so now I'm shuffling back to where I was at the movie. So oh yeah, okay, so with the Haiti thing, okay, so now with all of these people saying that stuff, to me is like it's putting all this stuff into people's mind, is kind of to prepare them. And there's people who are, doing videos like, they think eating cats is bad. They don't even know what's to come. Wait till they, there was one that said, wait till they find about the spirit. So I was like, yeah, wait till they find out what's in the sausage and the hamburger meat. And so I've been talking to that person, is, I don't know, those of us who like to talk when we, we're on the same wavelength or whatever. So, so all these people, it's like putting the conversations out there, because there is those conversations where, if you are going and seeing those videos and you go into the comments, you're going to see people saying stuff like that, like me and this person having this conversation. So that is going to kind of open people's minds more. And there's been a lot of us who have been planting seeds in people. Well, this is going to be like the watering. It's like they're going to be seeing like, oh, so my sister isn't crazy. Like, there's other people saying this and stuff. So that is one level of it. But all of this information coming in, it's like this putting it out there before it comes and hits hard. It's like a gentle open. It's like a gentle way of letting it go. It's like a letting the water, instead of just letting the dam rupture, it's like doing a controlled information, whatever it's called, like when they open the dam, they let out a little water and then they close it. So it's kind of like they're doing that with information. And so they, somebody all of a sudden leaks out, oh, well, we got all this certain group, just these people. Because in New York, they already had these other people who were getting rats and barbecuing them up and all, like, I don't know, probably cats too. But, people who have lived in other places are used to eating whatever they gotta fucking eat to survive. They don't, they don't live off grocery store. They don't have Kroger's and shit like that. They don't have lab grown meat. So anyways, the people, for that to all of a sudden be leaked out, oh, well, it's this certain group. And then for that to all be on purpose and all this bumper up of all these people to be saying, oh, this goes on, this goes on, this goes on. And it all being like all this horrific, and where people are saying, don't go looking into this stuff. And this one guy is saying, like, you can be taken out even talking about this stuff. And all these people saying, for you, those of you who want to try and understand the universe, don't start practicing this. And this is the kind of thing where I was talking about in that past life of mine, of where there was some of us who, there's like for a long, long time. I feel like that back in the Egyptian times or Atlantis, like when we were working with these other beings and we were learning about the magic and stuff. And then whatever happened in those lives, wherever those lives ended, probably because there's certain force that started trying to control us and started taking people out and stuff like that. But whatever happened, and then we ended up dying and going back into other lives. But there is not, it's like you can't go in and have the same one again. And you have to go in and you have to see it from other perspectives and stuff. So going in and having an understanding of magic, so you would still carry that forward. And so you would still be able to have these certain understandings. And then so you could try and do practices, but you may not have understood yet of what you're drawing your energy from, and the trying to control energy. Because that's what I said, it's like step after step after step. It's like different lives, you learn different steps. And so at certain times, and you were learning to manipulate energy or boss it around or pull in the darkness to do the work for you and stuff. So there's a lot more about that. And then there's lots of souls, that we live these lives and learn these different things, and we know very much like the magic of the universe. And then there's people who are just learning some of these things, and it's probably learning how to have respect. That seems like a big thing, is learning how to have respect and to understand, the master of the energy, like if you want to call it like God or whatever. I always say it's like the universe, because it has its own momentum. And when you're trying to interfere with it, then you are a blockage. You're like a cock blocker of the universe. And so it's, as a soul, you just like go through these different lifetimes and learn. And then whatever it was, that is from what I understood about like the palm reading thing, like these certain marks and stuff that you will have on your hand. It's like where you had the magic, but it had to be taken from you. So it's like you have to go through a life of living without being able to use the magic. Although I've been able to use the magic, like I've been able to manifest and all that stuff. But what I've learned is to go into the flow of the universe, not try and manipulate it or try and make things go the way I want them to go, to get to learn more about how to go in the flow. But that is where, a lot of my stuff comes from, my own, I hear exaggeration of a pathway, my own, life journey, my own journey to myself, my own journey to my journey to myself, the finding myself and my own understanding. And, I know magic and spiritual and this other worldly stuff is a big part of mine. And it's always been. I mean, it just trips me out is when I see, like, when I was a really little kid, there was confirmation of that, but then there became, a hostility towards it. And then it became a joke where we started saying, because then once because I wasn't the only person, it was a whole thing, but it was very minimal amount of people. And one of the people that was in the movement was Shirley MacLaine, and she was super famous. And so you could see the backlash that she was receiving, but then they put it more into the movies and stuff. So they started making it in the movies and stuff, making fun of us and calling us names and stuff like that. So they made this whole thing. I think it's because we were getting too close to waking up or something. We were going into the right direction. And so they had to create a giant interference. And then all of those of us who were, the ones who, knew that this stuff was real, because, like, it's real. Like, I don't know how, for people who are always unsure and stuff like that, I'm just like, uh, all this stuff is real. And so when we started going into spirituality, and reincarnation was a big thing, because that was something that people, like, no, everybody thought, like, we're born by accident, we're out here spinning on a thing. If we dedicate our lives to God and Jesus, for this book somebody found, that you can have eternal life by going and sitting in the heavens with Jesus. That's what all these people, and so there was people who, like, didn't want that, but then they were fear, and then they put the counterbalance of, you either do that or you go to hell and burn in eternity. So that was a whole thing. There was definitely so many people. It was like every single thing you did was going to put you in hell. There was people who just gave up. Well, I'm going to hell anyways. At least I'll be with my friends. And so it just became absurd, which is leading people away from their own divinity. And so the people, so the people, so that was leading them away from their own divinity, and people got more lost, especially with such an introduction with corn and drugs and stuff. That really sent people into a whirlwind of possibilities of how far can we go, how deep can we go, how dark and perverted can I get. And that became like a whole thing. And so many people would be like, well, I was drunk. I was drunk. Like, that just became an excuse for people. Like, let's go get drunk. Well, didn't you just get drunk and do something stupid? Yeah, let's go do it again. Oh, okay. But you're going to use the same excuse? Probably. So that just is like this mindless part of people. And that's when the clinics were really going to town. And that one video too was just blowing up. Like, boy, that girl's sound is being used for a lot of videos. The one who made that call, and they explained to her what they do to a child at 34 weeks. I'm astounded by the people who, but it's their life journey. It's like, it's what they have to face, And even if your government tells you, yeah, it's no big deal, it's not murder. Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, everybody's on their own life path, their own journey. That's like I said, we're all here learning our own things. We're all here learning different things. But I definitely don't think that's by accident. Just like Gunner, and having to go so extreme to get more and more people's attention. This is how I see the things, like where I'm watching these patterns play out and stuff, of how the shift is occurring. And in the But in the movie, she does this curse. And in the thing, it says that they don't even think that she realized that how strong her curse was. Like she didn't realize that she was the seventh daughter of the seventh son. I was like, well, if I'm the first daughter of the, I'm the first daughter of the third son. What does that mean? So so on this guy, so she does this curse, and it's so on the seventh day, on this, like how she does it is, it's just the whole way she says it or whatever. So it's on the seventh day that somebody's going to die, on the next seventh day, and the next seventh day, and there would be one that would go by land and two that would go by air. And it's trippy because these are the kind of things that I've heard these guys saying, these guys who are disclosing about this certain place, that this certain people who were running Arkansas spent a lot of time to go and learn to do this stuff. I just think there's none of this is by accident, none of it. And so it's all bringing, it's like the walls are closing in. I mean, it's not going to be like closing in on him. It's closing in on her doppelganger, clone lady, whatever the hell. People have shown that that's an actress. It's shown her IMDb and stuff. So, so it's not really closing in on her, because she's already, she's watching from wherever. I don't know where some of these people are going. Seriously, like, I don't know. They have to make a new purgatory for some of this shit. Like, I have no idea. So, that's why I think it's just like, it's maybe they're creating their own realm of darkness, their own pit of hell. I don't know. So, but you don't want to get caught up in this stuff. You want to stay with the light, going through the process, going through your ending, and then it leads to beginnings. You don't want to be skipping it. I don't understand these people who think they're so spiritual and I just jump timelines. I'm leaving the matrix and all this stuff. It's like, I don't think you understand spirituality. I don't think you understand this place. Like, you take all these bits and pieces of stuff from the CIA and Dolores Cannon, and I think you go through your heart. Go through your heart space. Go through your spirit. What does your spirit say about all this? So, then she does this curse. But the thing in this story that I found fascinating was the one kid who was the second to go. He was on a plane. He had looked up her curse and stuff. He had saw the pattern of the 7 days, and it was on the 14th day, and he's going on a plane ride. So he, on the plane ride, he's sitting next to a priest. So he starts asking the priest, and when he says, like, do you believe in supernatural? And the priest is like, what? That's my boss, man. And that's the thing. But it's like they don't understand the supernatural. It's very controlled. Because then when the kids started asking something, and the guy was like, no, this and that, and it's like, you don't understand the supernatural. Like, they've got people out there, just like they've got the same thing where we have doctors who don't understand, our body. They don't understand the truth, and they're the ones leading us. It's the same thing with these preachers and priests. Like, they aren't really, it's like the same kind of artificial teachings or something, because they really don't have the same spiritual connection. Even to the point where some of these, where they're like, in the word of God, I spoke to God last night and he told me. It's like, I don't know that they're all, they're not talking to some kind of a trickster or dark energy and stuff. It all depends on what the information is. That's how you can tell is the information of light and love and unity, or is the information of division and hierarchy, anger, repression, oppression. You got to look at it, and how does it affect more than just you? That's where people have to move out of their ego. They get so caught up in how things affect them that they don't think about how it affects everybody. And that was one thing too in this movie, was when somebody would get killed, how it would affect so many other people, like the old lady shooting that guy when he came to the door. and how, she was drawn into it then, and how it affected her. And this is where everybody has these lessons. See, the things that happen are supposed to happen. You're supposed to go through this whole process, and you're supposed to go through all of these, learning and growing through whatever the situations that happen in your life. And so, that for sure, I could see that. Then in the second story, so the second story, I kept thinking the third story was the pit, but it was the second story. And in the pit, I found interesting. So in the pit, it had all this smoke coming up and fog, and it had this moaning and groaning. And this was out on these farms. So it was like in 1910, I think, and they said in Missouri. And then, so there was all these farms, and there was like all these farmers, had a bunch of land and stuff. What it has shown in these other ones, when it's shown about these, like in Outer Rim or whatever it's called, the one with Josh Brolin is, I think that's who's in it, is James or Josh. I'm pretty sure it's the son. That it could be the dad, but anyways, that in his land, he had that big hole. And that's the same thing in Ellensburg. The guy had the property and didn't know the hole was there. So there's these holes, and the people don't necessarily know they're there, or they just opened up at some point. So in this, they were saying, did this just open up? Where did this hole come from? And the boy was out fishing with his dog, and his dog disappeared. And with the moaning and stuff in the hole, that he kept thinking his dog was in the hole. And so he kept going down to the hole. So then the town, which is a really little tiny town, when all the men came together, it was like 10 men. And so it was this tiny little town, and they would come together to talk about it. And the sheriff was called the constable. And the kid in the town that I was saying, he was called the dummy. That's what it's just the dummy. and I had thought that that's who they lowered in the hole. Thank God that that's not who they lowered in the hole. But he comes running up to it right before they lowered somebody else. They end up lowering the dad, because the son's like, just let me go down there and see if it's Lady. I think his dog's name is Lady. And the dad's like, no, I'll do it. I'll go down. You guys put the rope around me and I'll go down. And there's all this moaning and groaning coming out of this thing. And so they lower him down, and he starts screaming, and they have to pull him up real quick. And then he goes crazy. He ends up living in a mental institute for the rest of his life and dies. And when he was going down in the thing, the picture of him hanging on the wall, because the wife was in the house doing the dishes, and his picture flew off the wall and broke on the ground. And she knew then that something was wrong. But see, the universe is speaking to us all the time. But not everybody's trained to watch the signs, see? There was like a certain way that people used to be, and that they would know the signs and read the signs and stuff. But so the guy comes out of the hole and goes running. But when the people were at the barber shop talking about the hole, they were saying that there's all these holes, these old caves and stuff that open up, because there's this tunnel system and stuff underneath the ground. And so they were saying that in this movie, but it was supposed to be, the story that it's referencing is like from 1910 or something, and the movie's like made in 1970. But so this story was supposed to be an old one. There's a lot of old spooky stories. If you go and look up old newspapers, there's a lot. They were constantly finding like giants buried, all sorts of stuff. And that's when the Smithsonian was really active, and they were running around getting all this information to hide it from us. So it's all been a concealing of all of our information. But so the whole, what was I going to say? Because when they had said that about the caves and the stuff under the ground, and it was making all this noise and stuff, and they were saying, because they kept saying it's in the depths of hell, it's the demons and alien, and they weren't calling them aliens, they were saying like demons and stuff, it's the underground people or something that is down there. It's dangerous. And I was thinking, so back then they had an awareness of this underground world. And then I was thinking, what trips me out is like this tripped me out. You know, the first husband and the one who I said wanted to murder me. Well, I think he had murder on his mind all the time. Like, I think he was somebody who, you know, hopefully he hasn't done that to somebody, but anybody who's ever met him all had the same kind of thing. And so he would talk about stuff like that I thought was so weird. Like, you know, if I was going to kill somebody, what I would do was I would make a whole bunch of little slits on them, and then I would pour sugar, and then I would tie them on an anthill. I was like, how horrific! Like, what in the holy hell? How could you hate somebody so much? I was like, I don't hate people. I don't sit there and think about, like, you know, ways to tear. Oh, so that was like, oh my God. But there was like, you know, his dark thoughts and stuff. And, and I don't know if he ever hurt any animals or whatever. I don't know. I mean, there was some definitely weird dynamics in his family. Like, there's a lot of weird stuff. And, so anyways, let me think what I was going to say. Serial killer. Oh man, what was I about to say? It's driving me crazy. Okay, so was I finished talking about the pit? Oh yeah, okay. Okay, so that is when I started knowing about these places in like Nevada, Arizona, and Southern California. And I don't know about Northern California, but it was like out in the desert. So out in the desert, there's all these big, giant, deep holes. And they would they would say that they were mine shafts. They were these old mines. And so there's all these mine shafts. There's old holes in the ground, these big giant mines everywhere out in these desert areas. And people would, it was like a known dumping ground. So the people would be like, you know, they could get away with hiding a body because they'd throw it in these things. And when I was watching that movie and I heard those guys in the barber shop talking, it made me think about all those mines or pits or whatever, and the people throwing the bodies down inside of them, but thinking like, oh, there's really beings and beasts and stuff down there. Like you're throwing them supper, like in cabin in the woods or something, where they had the creature and they have to keep feeding it blood and stuff. So I don't know. It kind of reminds me of even with those giant holes in the ground and thinking about there being these creatures down there and people are throwing down like an offering, like back when the Indians or these certain tribes would throw like the maiden into the volcano to try and get the volcano to stop erupting or whatever their practice is, to try and offerings and stuff, rituals, because that is a big part of a certain uh, practice. You know, a big part of the place that I was talking about that Hillary liked and what they would do and that she was learning. So there's something to it. Like this is something that there is some kind of an offering situation going on and some kind of rituals and stuff. Is even that one guy who had found that place is like, there's weird shit going on with the national forest and stuff. There's weird shit with the certain land and all these different things. Like everything is shady as fuck. But in this one that guy said that he had gone to, and it was like this Indian bear is something. I don't know. It was like 100 or 1,000 Indian. I don't remember the story. But the thing that was weird about it, he said there was one house there, and then he tried to find out whose house it was, found out it was owned by the Rockefellers. Then the only other thing that they found out, there was one of those big places where you do the rituals on those big things, and it was, you know, it had stains and stuff, like, and he was saying, like, why would you want to buy a place that had all of this history and all this death and stuff? But it's because they feed off of it. They feed off of that, and they still do it. So that is, there's something to it. And in that movie, in Cabin in the Woods, they made it about that too, where, you know, this blood that had to go to feed this beast. So I don't know. There's something, you know, to, that's horrifying too. Is they made all those people down in the tunnel. That is like a scary fucking movie. They got these people down in the tunnels. They're having to fucking hide from these eating things. So I don't know. I don't know how all that, the tunnels, like, because like there's more footage now. More people are finding doors in the mountains and stuff. So the giants and Bigfoot, like there's certain beasts and creatures and stuff that have, I wouldn't say restricted, but it's like, why would Bigfoot go to town? You know, what's he got to do there? Like, so, uh, so it's not like restricted, but it's like the areas that they would go. But there's more with these forest things. There's more with these people knowing of certain lands and energy. And like I've said before, that a part of what is going on, why there's so much hostility or so much trauma and stuff in certain places, is this energy that's coming through the land. It's energy that is like battles that went on, and it holds that energy. And so this is this releasing of all this energy, all this dark energy is being released. And so it's, you know, it's like so many levels what is going on. And, but that is why I said some places are going to have it way worse than other places. But I was really thinking, man, I bet you that that is what the deal is with these pits and stuff out there. What was that? Tremors. That was that show, I think, the movie with Kevin Bacon, where it had these big worm creatures that were living underground, and they would pop up, and it was in the desert. So I don't know. They told us they were mines, but now I'm thinking different. Especially, you know, because I saw this movie like when I was young, so this was already in my fucking reference. And then plus it started with the whole thing about these are all true stories. So I knew that this pit thing was a real thing. Then it was, there seems like, was that the next thing? Was the Outer Bounds movie or the series that's on Prime? Was it that the next time I saw about a pit? And it was talking about the pit, and it has a whole thing about it in this series. And but what was trippy is after I saw that, that's when all of this stories started coming out about Ellensburg, and that's where that is. And then all those stories really happened over there, and that the guy who had that farm, that the, you know, the Men in Black came and took it from him, and he's disappeared. Or they said that they bought him some other place and moved him and stuff, but they just, you know, people, you do what they say, or they just disappear you. They don't care. And it's not, you know, it's just taking you out of the story. It's just removing you out of the storyline so they can keep their storyline going. So to us, you know, it looks like it's murder, but really it's this other level. And this controlling, I mean, when we got fucking people out here communicating with other people that are keeping us in bounds, and they think they're talking to these archangels and stuff, but these are other beings to keep us under control. So I don't know, this is so, you know, it's so much more fascinating and so much more supernatural and spiritual than people have any understanding of. And but anyways, it's just going to keep playing out, how it's going to keep playing out. And the other story, it was the girl who goes in the people's car, and she wants to get home. And the thing that I thought was fascinating about it was because it mentions the lady in white, the White Rock lady of Dallas is our ghost lady. And every, like, she, back when I was younger, And then that she had been seen all the time. It's like she would get in people's cars and then they would take her and people would go out the lake. Like I said, it was a whole thing. Like everybody knew of the lady at the lake, the lady in white and stuff. And she's been in other movies too. But in this one, they said that, so there's one of them in South Carolina, I think it was, and then another one in someplace else where they have these same stories. These women who had a crash in the water and then they stay at the place. So in this one where she leaves and she gets in these people's car and she needs to go home and she's real out of it and stuff. And then she had died like in the 20s or 30s and now this is supposed to be like the 70s or something. And so she's been dead a long time. Or it may have been like the 60s, but, oh, sorry. So she has been dead for a long time. And so she waits on this bridge and somebody picks her up and then she needs to get home because her dad is expecting her. This is the trap that a soul can get into, is this dedication to something they feel they have to finish. They have to accomplish it. They have to finish. That is where you have a lot of ghosts, like where people think, oh, these ghosts and stuff. It's souls that get trapped in a thought. They get trapped in a, like, I've got to finish this. I've got to finish this. I've got to finish this. And and then they are confused because they're out of the thing. And so it's, it's not something to be scared of, but it is, it does show, like, I don't know, the importance of our spiritual stuff, but that, your spirit still has this dedication to the family and fixing things. And the man who had driven her home, and then the guy who answered the door was like, you got the wrong house. And so he goes out to his wife and the girls disappeared out of the car. And she's like, how did that happen? And so he's like, oh, I'm going back up there and find out what's going on. So he goes up and knocks on the door and the guy comes out. He says, well, I don't want to upset my wife, but I'll tell you, my daughter was killed was killed a long time ago. And she keeps trying to get home and she can never get here. Every time it's really kind of sad, but that is it's like a, what is that called? A loop. It's like a loop of time. They get stuck in this loop of time. And then the consciousness of the being, of the soul, needs to break itself free. And then, like that one lady was talking about in her QHHC, when she was stuck in that loop and she was haunting the house because she was waiting for her husband to come back. And her guides had come to her and said, are you done with this yet? So, you do have your guides that are there. Like, I don't think you just are trapped endlessly in eternity. Eternally, you're trapped in this loop of time. There's still these fallbacks of keeping you to break free. But it's like anything that you do as a soul, you get to do it. You get to play it out. You get to see. And I think that as the watchers or the universe, the learning that goes on from us, because we are the things that they learn from, it seems to me, is that they can see more than what you think that they can see. It's almost like they can see through you. They can see how you feel. Like you can't, it's like there's no hiding your truth. So they get more from it. There's more depth to it. And so, like a ghost, like the person dies and then they're still bound by this, like, I've got to get home. My dad's going to be so mad. I got to get home. And they get trapped. Another thing, too, that I found was interesting in the story was the dad who felt like he knew what was best for his daughter. And he was going against what his daughter, which was, leading to the events. Because then she was going to run off with the guy she wasn't supposed to be with. Because the dad wanted her to be with the guy who was more successful. And so he was putting what he wanted on his daughter. And that is something through our joined up lessons of things that we have learned through time, And so when you would see some of the stuff that would play out, because what was it too? Because I had just seen something else. It was it was an older movie, but it was like from the 70s, and it was Connie Selica and John Ritter, and it was very twin flamish, but it was the girl. She was supposed to get married to this one guy, and he seemed to have it all going on. You know, he was the catch, and she, but it wasn't really. You know, he was constantly going against her or something. Like she was constantly having to change herself to be with this guy. And so they were supposed to be getting married like in a week or something. And then so he went to Vegas for his night thing, you know, with all the guys. And she called the hotel and a girl answers. So, and he was very much like, you know, he could do whatever he wanted. And so she was irritated. So she decided she was going to go out and have a time for her. And she met John Ritter. And and he had been he was an attorney who was been a womanizer for a long time, and nothing was getting, you know, nobody was connecting with him. He just felt like this is so senseless. This is so empty. And I remember that going on. There was a lot of people who were going out and sleeping around. We're kind of going through that wave again. But in this wave, it is, I don't know, it's darker. It just gets darker until it turns. And so at this point, it was, you know, that he had slept around, but he saw the error of his ways. He was really wanting connection and true love, you know, true connection, and, you know, not this empty, you know, having sex all the time. And so and he met her, and then he fell in love with her. And so it's this whole thing, you know, of her choosing herself over choosing the loyalty, because like her thing would be like, well, we've already paid for the honeymoon, we've already got the invitations are out, my dress is bought, like those kinds of things. And I know this is very like I know this story on a personal level. It's trippy because, like I said, you go through these things so you can get all these different views of things. It's so true. And so I have a distinct view of this situation in real life. And so, but also in past lives, because there was a whole thing where so many people chose duty at certain times of existence, where it was like you had to choose the right partner. And just like how that man was trying to put pressure on his daughter, and still in some cultures where they think the parents will tell the people who to marry. See, these things are still playing out in different cultures in different ways and stuff like that. So there's still these opportunities for learning that stuff. Well, there has been. Now everything's switching, everything's changing. But anyways, before, you know, those lessons had been for a while, but they're still going on. So there's still people learning them. But anyways, so the choosing duty over love, like, well, you know, I love you, that you're the person I want to be with, you're the person I feel connected with, but, you know, my duty is to my family or to my job or whatever it is, why you have to go in this direction. There's tons of lessons in that. That has been something that has been through our history. And I think that it has been such a big thing for so many people who consider themselves to be twin flames, is that because this is their opportunity to choose each other and not choose duty. Whereas there has been so much time through different lives where they couldn't choose each other. There was always an interference, but these relationships are there to teach you the importance of love and choosing love. And, you know, like, we need to get more focused on the love. Like, we are so focused on the darkness and the hate, and there's so much of it, so much purging out around us. It's like, yeah, we're in the middle of like, I see it like on a hospital ward, and everybody's super sick and puking and pooping, like projectile diarrhea and vomit going everywhere. It's like that's what's happening on the planet. Oh yeah, we do have some big projectiles coming out of the sun, and people are getting more and more concerned about those. I'm saying those, any of those could take down the power grid. We still have this whole thing. Today's the 15th, but they're saying like there's all this stuff that's supposed to be happening the 16th, the 17th. Like there's getting, just keep being. This is just going and going and going and going and going. But it's just important to really differentiate between this three-dimensional existence of reality that was created to control you and confuse you, and the difference of connecting into yourself and your trust of your eternal guidance and the spiritual side of life, because that is the real side of life. And so the more that you can transition into that connection is what I believe is important. And then it's going to have a big hit. It's going to be a big momentum that's going to hit a lot of people. And it's going to be the big shift, it's going to shift us in this whole new direction. So it's very exciting, I think. And I think that you can see it all playing out. I think it's just all around us. And but it's important again to get into observation and not get caught up in the dramas, especially when a drama doesn't really have to do with you right in thing, like how much you interject yourself into like different causes or something, like the SJW part of us, this social justice warrior, we're going to get it done, we're going to do that. And I know a lot of people who are really in that mode, and that is making great movement. I mean, it's making big movement on Gunner. It's making big movement on the kill shelters and stuff. What I was thinking when they were talking about these so much is like all the things that we could do so much better. So where I see these rescues where people are just like throwing all these dogs in together. So it's like, well, you can't just have all these, just throw a bunch of dogs out on a farm and tell them to go make it work, because they start fighting and stuff. So it has to be more control than that. But I was thinking that because they need to stop killing the animals. They got to start figuring something else out. And there has been a whole bunch of videos of, I guess it's the rescue people, but I think some of the humane societies are being hit by this situation in Denton. And so they are, being like, fuck, we got to step up our game, man. And there's more videos being out of like cute videos showing dogs of how cute they are and stuff for adoption. And I was like, man, this is what they need to do. Instead of paying all this money to buy this medicine to put them out, pay a couple of people to do social media and put these dogs make videos, and then also set it up like these certain kind of outings. Like there's this one school where these kids all go and get the dogs in the morning, and then I don't know if they're the football players, the baseball players, the track stars, or whatever they are, but they have to go do their long run in the morning. They go get all of the dogs from the pound, and they take them on the run with them. I was like, what a fucking cool ass program. Like more stuff like that. And the kids that are doing it say it's really cool, because then people out in the street get to go up to them and meet the dogs and stuff. And it's like, oh, it's for adoption, so it gets to be out there like networking with the dogs. And then the other one too is the nursing homes. And the way that the people get so cut off from the simple things, the smelling the flowers, the petting the dog, having a dog lick you so you can say, stop licking me. So that kind of part of in nursing homes, and it have like these dogs that have outings that go to the nursing homes for touch therapy and all those kinds of things. There could be some that spend the night at the places, like different nursing homes fostering or something. Like, I just know we can do so much better. And in Turkey, it's going so fast too. And they said it's brutal what's going on. And they're just going around at dogs, brutalizing them, making mass graves and stuff. It's super horrible. And so it's it's a part of humanity. It's not just part of America. It's a part of what we have done and what we need to do better. And these things are going to hurt. We've got little kids killing little kids. We got parents leaving kids like on their own. We got so much stuff going on, so much horrible stuff. And it's the things that we got to see, and we got to take notice of it. Like, some of this stuff is society. It's man's decisions. It's the direction we went. And we've got to take notice of where it went wrong. And so we can make the changes and the turns and get things right on track. And so all these things that are happening are very important. I mean, we do need to take notice. We do need to take heed to the warnings of, where people, like, God's angry and stuff like that. It's not like God, but it's like an energy, and it's been pushed too far. It's going to come back. So anyways, that's what, we're in this process of this big change that is occurring. But, luckily for us, it's this big change that's going to make everything way better for us. And there's more things going on too with the money thing. There's all these dinar reports and stuff, but there's some podcasters and stuff on YouTube, I think, that you can watch that have been talking about. But there's a lot of stuff that is going on. I saw guys sharing about that, and they were saying, just any of this stuff can go at any time. And we got Kamala that is being exposed. I think they're going to try and make this huge drama of just expose. And Donald keeps coming and saving the day on all this stuff. Joe's just going around like a doddering old man. Doesn't know. Like, now they're kind of cute, making him cutesy or something. Like, he's doing all this cutesy stuff. I don't know. It's weird. So I don't know. But the whatever is going to go, it's going to blow. And it could be that, at the last minute, because somebody else was saying at the last minute, they think they're going to interject somebody else in, like Michelle, and say, well, we can't put her calm, because now she's in all this trouble. Joe's in trouble. She's in trouble. It's because all of this stuff is going to keep showing that they're all in trouble. And this one side isn't trying to get us to all go red. This one side is just trying to push so that we all see the truth. The red coming out behind him and the blue coming out in front of him. And that is, where you got to take notice of. There's a lot of people who only want to see one color. They're kind of color blind over who's the good guy and who's the bad guy. And so you can get really, misdiagnose over, who's on your side and who's not. And that, to me, it's like you just got to, right now at this point, it's just to keep watching as things keep playing out and people keep being exposed. And, it's weird because, now there's something with Matthew McConaughey. They're saying he's not the right person and he's out there. And so I don't even know, like, are they putting some of these people out? Like, I don't know. It's all so weird. Like, some of it, it's just like, it just drive you crazy. We just got to keep watching. And I think that we're so close to this, like, where we don't have to keep trying to figure it out. It's going to finally become clear. Like, there'll be a lot that's going to become clear. And there's going to be a lot that's going to become clear to a lot of people who are not prepared for it. Like, when you see people freaking out about, like, they're eating cats, just wait and see until you find out what you've been eating. It's like, there's people who are just, like I said, there's things where people are not going to feel like there's not enough showers that can wash some of this stuff off. And other times that when we were learning about some of this stuff and we were up all night, we couldn't sleep and we were stressed, we had to tell people, and we had to get people to understand. And all that we went through, like, they're going to be going through that stuff from the other side. Is that now it's gonna, it's gonna be hitting hard. All these different things are gonna happen, and I think it is one thing. It's a lot of the people who are on this side of it are super judgmental, and then you're gonna get a real hit on empathy and compassion when you see how it's gonna hit these people. And I know there's going to for sure be people who are going to be mean. Well, I told you, if you would have just listened to me, you wouldn't have to go through that. But that is their own bitterness. They don't understand spirituality at all. It's like they didn't have a choice. This is their destiny. They were only going to see what they could see. They were only going to see when they were supposed to see. I mean, it all has to do with your lessons, what you are here to learn about. And I'll tell you what we're all here to learn about, is learn how to love ourselves, to love everyone, and how to have a loving day. because it's totally up to you. So I'll talk to you later. Bye.